tea? What's the 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 tea?
Hello everyone, I am the Water Bear and welcome back to the Water Bear's Tea. Alright, in this video we're talking about the Pluto Scorpio generation. Where my millennials at? Hey, okay. And I am so excited to share this video with you guys. I've been wanting to put this together for a minute now. Been a bit busy and wanted to also get all my information, all my facts, okay? Because you know I like my facts, and I do. I have literally like a full essay of notes for us to chat about. I'll try to consolidate this and give it into a nice, digestible understanding. But I'm just so excited to share. And the main impetus that really got me to like, okay, Corey, sit down, get this video out, is what was going on recently, okay? Honestly, I guess I'll just show on the video. In New York City, what happened last week, I saw a video of the NYPD holding this man at gunpoint on the subway, okay? And he literally had his hands up. He didn't do anything. There was no, violent aggression. He was not hurting anyone. I mean, maybe he did have a violation of maybe like something, but it was not to a point where you need to pull a gun on someone. To me, a gun pull is like, I don't even like guns, but like, if it's no other way, they have a gun and they're about to shoot someone or they're about to come at someone, then you take them down. But aside from that, there's no need to even pull that out, okay? And so that caused a lot of outrage in the community. And today, on the 2nd of November, there was a rally, basically, of people, mainly if you look at the age of the people in the video, they're the millennials, okay, jumping the turnstiles in Brooklyn and protesting against the NYPD and, all of the racism, all of the overuse of abusive violence and all the, control that they have over the people. And so I saw that video, I literally was in tears, and I was like, I'm so proud of my generation for standing up. And it really proves to me, I've been reading about the Pluto and Scorpio generation since like 2014. And so this really is showing me what I was reading in real time, okay? So, I had to come and share this video with you guys. I just made a video about, the Pluto being in Capricorn right now and how that is tearing up big business. But Pluto is just the main talk of the town, clearly, because we're talking about the Pluto and Scorpio generation now, okay? So if you're always wondering how, millennials have such a bad rap, okay? Everyone's always like, what's wrong with the millennials? Why are they so different? Why are they so rebellious? Why, do they want to do things so differently? We're not in the same field at all as our predecessors, or if that makes any sense, the previous generations, okay? We're a lot more sexual. We're a lot more open. We're not afraid to confront. We're fearless in a way, but that came from a lot of fear growing up. We are, defenders of truth. And we have this strong sense that we need to be empowered. We have this strong sense of power deep within us, and we want to exert that out into the world, okay? And anybody who has power, we can kind of see as well. We grew up realizing a lot of the people that have power aren't doing anything with it, or they're actually hurting people with it. And so we're here to really be that change and be that shift. So let me go ahead and get into everything and really explain, why the millennials are so different and our main purpose here, okay? So that starts by explaining Pluto, explaining Scorpio's energy, and explaining, the astrological background of everything. And then I'll get into our childhood, our past incarnations, and how kind of what we went through, and then our purpose for all of that. Okay, so stay tuned, guys. So Pluto is the last planet in our solar system, and to me that is a major thing. Okay, of course, because it's the last one, but it shows it's the barrier. Anything past Pluto is not in our energy, is not receiving the life force from the sun. Okay, and so Pluto represents kind of that gateway point of life and death. It represents rebirth and transformation. It represents, like, if you know about energy can't be destroyed or created, so it has to be transmuted. And Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and so Pluto and Scorpio hold that energy. Pluto is all about energetically what's going on, not just what's appearing to go on, but literally underneath the surface, what's happening. And the main aspect of Pluto, since he is the last planet and it moves so slow in comparison to the closer planets to the sun, like for example, Mercury takes 88 days about to go around the sun. Pluto takes 250 years, okay? And so Pluto's movement it deals with generations, okay? And I wrote down Pluto brings us into this realm, into this, 3D realm we're in our solar system, okay, into this incarnation basically, and deals with generationally why we incarnated, okay? So each generation, Pluto generation basically, has a different kind of imprint of why they are here, okay? The Pluto Scorpio generation is from November of 1983 until November of 1995, okay? And this is, that's not the exact dates, it's kind of a wide range, because Pluto was in Sagittarius and went back into Scorpio in the spring of 95. Okay, so some babies born in 95 are Pluto Sagittarian babies, the next generation. Okay, and same thing happened in 83. Pluto went back into Libra before going back into Scorpio. So there's that kind of interchange, but we usually say between 83 and 95 is the Pluto Scorpio generation, okay? And this is so important because Pluto rules over Scorpio. So we're the generation where Pluto's at its strongest, okay? And so I wrote down Pluto and Scorpio are all about depth, death, trauma, loss, and transformation. And it's all about bringing these things underneath to the surface, okay? Pluto is like a massive, it's like a construction worker, okay? It tears down and kills away what does not work so that we can continue to bring in new innovative things, right? I also said that it creates the need to be empowered and in control, not from a place of outside things, but internally, okay? Because Pluto and Scorpio rule over control, all right? Because it deals with energy exchange. Pluto and Scorpio rule over sex and rule over the merging of energies, and both those things deal with kind of how we balance out energy, okay? But to understand how energy is balanced, we have to know the full scale of the energy, which is why Pluto and Scorpio also rule depth and the full, surface of things. If we're looking at the ocean, it's like going all the way to the bottom and getting the full span of what's going on, not just skimming the surface, okay? And so that's a lot of our purpose here. Notice previous generations, there's so much, they kind of ran from a lot of trauma. They just, let me just keep working and getting past, I just want to make my retirement and get past it. There's a lot of finding medicines to cure, not really even cure, it's just to mask pains. But notice all the crazy amount of sleeping pills we have, anxiety medication, all these different things, but none of those things actually deals with the root, okay? The root cause, you know what I'm saying? Sleeping pills might make you go to sleep, but why are you staying up? What's going on, okay? Anxiety, yes, you might take medicine to calm down the symptoms, but it's putting a Band-Aid over the true cause, okay? And that's kind of been the way of doing things prior to our generation. We're the generation that's not going to go anymore, okay? Our lives are here, and the way our lives work out is we have to dive underneath. We have to kind of bring up from underneath the surface what's really going on, okay? Which is why our generation as well deals with so much depression, deals with so much abandonment, deals with so much fear, all these things that prior to our generation were kept underneath, they're brought out for us to work through, okay? You always see posts about like clearing generational karma, clearing generational curses. That is literally Pluto and Scorpio, and that's our purpose, okay? A main part of it, okay? We grew up observing patterns of society and family and realizing flaws in that, realizing, injustice in that, realizing delusion in that, because Pluto and Scorpio also rule deep psychic ability, okay? So all of our generation has a very strong ability to read through the bull, okay? We can kind of see, I don't think that's true, or we can see in, authority figures, in the government that, is that honestly what's going on? We have this, we don't trust things as much as previous generations, okay? Our trust comes from deep analysis. Okay, now prove to me, okay? And that's why there's so much, corruption being revealed in the government and so much change with millennials. I remember when Trump was getting elected for president, my entire family was so angry at me because I did not want to vote. I said I don't even support the system in general. I don't feel like it's truthful. I feel like there's a lot of underneath stuff that goes on, and I don't even vibe with either of the candidates. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to vote. Okay, and that was a major, major issue I got from my family, but it actually was me as a Pluto Scorpio generation, or Pluto Scorp, standing up for what I believed in and really looking at, I don't feel like I can trust this, so I'm not going to partake in this. Okay, and that's said for a lot of different things. Okay, that's why the millennials always get the bad rep. All right, so now that you kind of get a little bit about what Pluto means, what Scorpio energy means, now let me kind of bring that into the generation. Okay, what that means, put that onto people and see how that plays out in life, basically. All right. So for me, I say if you believe in reincarnation or not, your childhood basically is the starter point for your life, of course. But whatever went, because I believe in reincarnation, so whatever went on in your previous lifetimes, you kind of have to experience it as a child to get you to the place spiritually where you were when you ended your last life. Okay. Or ended, whatever, phase that ended and coming into this one, okay? Because we're born tabula rasa, clean slate, we don't remember anything, right? And in order for our souls to grow and keep expanding, if you didn't remember anything and you started, let's say you were a painter in past lives and you wanted to continue to develop painting in this life, okay? Well, if you had a blank slate, what if you didn't choose painting? How would you know? You know what I'm saying? And so certain situations go on in our childhood. Like for me, I'm a dancer. And so even from the beginning, any song that was coming on, I was dancing to it. So my family knew that, okay? But I was placed in, and it was very synchronistic how it ended up happening. And we was a back to school bash, and we didn't want to go initially, but we ended up going. I was in kindergarten, and we went to this back to school bash, and there was a dance school performing, and I did not leave that stage watching them the entire time. My mom was like, wow, okay, we got to put him in dance, okay? And so that has been part of my path, and I know that was from past lives dance as well, because it's so deep within me. But I needed those situations as a child to bring that into, so I can continue that, basically. My spirit needed to plan a way for me to continue dance starting off as a child because that's what I was doing in a past life. You get what I'm saying? And so I'm going to start to talk about kind of our upbringing as Pluto Scorpios and the purpose of all of that, okay? So the first thing I have down, previous generations did not want to look at the depth of things. They didn't want to look at their fears. They didn't want to look at their anxieties. They did not want to look at the secrets of society. They did not want to look at, how things are really built. And they just kind of wanted to continue going, okay? This mainly, we really see this, as I said, I wrote, especially not the baby boomers, who they're the Pluto-Leo generation, okay? And Leo is all about grandiose and appearance and excitement and joy. So that generation was all about, regardless of what's going on, we're going to make it appear great. We're going to build, notice the baby boomers. There's so much infrastructure building, so much, external growth. Okay, let's build big cities and let's build, all these cars and highways and all these things to give us the feeling like everything's good. But there was still a lot of internal chaos, okay? They were raised during all that wartime. There was so much chaos going on in society. And the baby boomers' parents, they were going through so much in society and dealing with, even in baby boomers especially, even dealt with a lot of racial things. And there's just a lot of battling. And their parents, they're complete, like representations of that. The apple didn't fall far from the tree, okay? So they did not receive the support and the nurturing they needed growing up, the Pluto-Leo generation, the baby boomers, because their parents were so focused on what was going on in society, so they became a little wounded, but in their way of dealing with it, they wanted to gain, so everything could look nice, okay? And that's the baby boomers. And then notice Leo is a fixed sign, all right? It's born during the middle of a season. Scorpio is a fixed sign during the middle of the season. Leo is the middle of summer, Scorpio is the middle of fall. And they're 90 degrees apart. And in astrology, 90-degree alignments between planets causes a square, which brings in challenge, and it's about trying to find balance between two opposing viewpoints. Okay, so this is one of the main reasons why the baby boomers and the millennials do not really mesh at all. Okay, we are constantly doing this, all right? And growing up for me, yes, me and my parents didn't really, our ideologies did not match, but they really didn't match with my grandparents, okay? And that's seen from all of the Pluto generation, Pluto-Scorpio generation, sorry about that. Growing up, all of the rules and regulations that were put in place by the baby boomers, this naturally did not go with us, naturally did not vibe with us. So I'm the first generation as well of all the metal detectors in schools, so many laws made around discipline, okay, because my generation challenged that, right? All of the, how teachers used to be able to hit you in school and beat you in school and all that stuff, that stopped with the Pluto-Scorpio generation because we did not allow that. We're not going to sit and let someone that's not even our parent abuse us, basically, okay? And notice as well how parental abuse has been something that's been strongly brought out, okay? I grew up in hearing all about, you got to discipline your children, especially being from the South. Every story was about, how you were hitting your children, that kind of stuff. That's how I was raised, being beat, spanked, all that kind of stuff. But now I know that's not something I want to pass on, okay? That caused a lot of trauma for me, and my Pluto Scorpio generation felt that as well, okay? But instead of, like I always growing up, would be like my father would say, well, this is how I was raised, and my daddy did it to me, so I'm gonna do it to you. And I always was like, but you literally are explaining to me you don't like that, you didn't like it then, and you wish it didn't happen, so why would you do it to me just because he did it? You know what I mean? That generation before, they didn't dive deep enough in certain things to look at like, okay, my parent did this to me, but is that the truth of me? For me, is that right for me? They just took what they saw and continued with that, okay? And we can't, Pluto-Scorpio generation, that doesn't work with us, okay? We're here to understand our own truth. And I'll explain a little bit in the video why that occurred and what had to happen in our childhood so that we now we're basically forced to create our own reality and what we want, okay? And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go on, okay? So now let me get into how we were raised as Pluto-Scorpio generation and our purpose and what that's going to bring in, okay? So we talked about before how Pluto deals with, fears and depression and loss and death and rebirth, all these the deep things of life, okay? The things that happen in the dark. Scorpio also rules the dark, okay? And notice as well, it's rebirth. Notice what happens in the dark. Creation happens in darkness, okay? And so all these things are tied in with my generation, okay? And so my generation is full of, we have to figure it out, you know what I mean? We have to look inside for answers. We are the first generation as well. Like I went through deep depression in 2012, 2013, and a few other times. And I was the first one in my family to be like, I don't want medicine. I don't want, I want to figure this out on my own, okay? Because I did take it at one point, but it made me feel so down and like not myself. So it was like, well, I can't do medicine. So I'm having to deal with this depression. So now let me figure out how to get myself out of it, okay? And that happened with so many other things, okay? The main thing in my generation as well is we were raised without, Pluto rules power and control. We were raised feeling like we had no control, okay? Very disempowered growing up, extreme control over us, but also we were raised in the time of extreme crisis, okay? Pluto in Scorpio represents loss, like I talked about before. And so just notice, we were born during the 9/11 crisis and the 2000, remember in 2000 they were saying like the world was going to end, it's going to be all this craziness. 2012, the world's going to end, all these movies on apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic death situations, the end of life, all that stuff. That happened with my generation growing up, okay? And we experienced that as well in our childhood and any environment. you never knew what could happen. Things were going great, and then sudden crisis, because Scorpio and Pluto rules crisis. Okay, and so we had to deal with that. It also deals with again, I talked about loss and power and control. And so a lot of people I know growing up, so many people. Okay, it was rare that I was raised with both of my parents. Very rare, because growing up, everyone was talking about single motherhood, or they didn't have their father. That's a focus as well, because it's about control and empowerment. Okay, so we not only were disempowered by government structures and by rules placed on us by our parents and their parents and authorities at school and things that were outdated and restrictive of us, but also things occurred within our unit that caused us to feel disempowered on not only a physical aspect, but also spiritually and emotionally. Because remember, Pluto and Scorpio is the full culmination of the full ocean. So it's not just the appearance, it's not just the material things in life that had to cause loss for us, that had to cause trauma for us, that had to bring up depression. We're not depressed just because of the external things. It's also emotional wounds and spiritual wounding. Okay, and so growing up as well, there was so much. Again, I talked about the single parents, that kind of thing. But within that, okay, even if you had both of your parents, the majority of my generation dealt with. We received physical things we needed. Okay, we were eating. We were able to go and live our life about, because that was a lot of the purpose of our parents' generation, Pluto Virgos. They're here to really create a new reality from the chaos of their past. Okay, from their parents and that kind of thing. A lot of our parents' generation was about, okay, let me go get a nice, house, a nice car. Let me feel safe, because I didn't feel safe growing up. Okay, so they're trying to feel safe, and so they gave us things that made them feel safe, but we might have been eating and that kind of stuff and had toys to play with, but we didn't get the emotional support we needed. We didn't get so many people had single mothers so their mom was always around, or their father wasn't there. I grew up, my dad was or still is in the military, and at least every other year he would go for a few months overseas, and so there was that distance. Okay. It's like the loss of the father is really what was felt strongly by millennials, the Pluto generation. Okay, I mean Pluto Scorpio generation. Okay, and through that we didn't. That gives through having that father figure around, you would have that support, have that empowerment. Okay, but my generation, it literally is kind of one or two things. You either had this father that was very powerful in the physical, maybe he had lots of money, a good job, but was not able to supply you with anything else. Okay, you didn't feel supported by him. You didn't feel like you were nurtured in any way, or there was not a father at all, no father figure. And even if he was around, maybe he was dealing with certain things where he was not, emotionally there. Okay, like I have memories of riding my bike, learning how to ride my bike, and all the scream, come on, don't do swimming today. All of the life things, you get what I'm saying? Going to Disney World, that kind of stuff. But I don't really have memories of being coached how to deal with sadness. I don't have memories of, being validated. I don't have memories of a lot of the things that, your soul needs outside of just the tangible. Okay. And so that's our generation. That's what we felt as well. Okay. And I'll get to why as we continue on, but I want to continue explaining what we went through, our incarnation. Okay. Pluto also represents secrecy, things, because it's underneath the surface. Okay, secrecy, sex, taboo things, the occult. Okay, and so just think about growing up. That was everywhere. Okay, the TV. I remember watching like Cheaters, and X-Files, all these things growing up on TV because it was there, and there was no regulation really for my generation. Okay, we were also the generation of video games with all the violence that came into that. And also secrets. We're the first generation as well where our parents spoke to us in a way, kind of an equal field, okay? So I remember growing up hearing about all kind of stuff, who cheated on who and what happened here, and hearing about sex, and also think about music growing up. We grew up in the age where sex is the main thing talked about in music. So it's not as taboo to us as prior generations, okay? And the purpose of that, again, to go to the depth. Notice as well, what is in sex? Sexuality, okay? So many hidden and repressed sexuality issues we're now dealing with. Because this is the main thing I want to talk about, what I forgot to mention in the beginning. Not only is there, spiritual ancestry, so you're coming in from past lives of whatever you were doing, okay? It may not even be in your family of origin here in this life, but also you're in this body. I can say all day that and I do feel that I'm from somewhere way far from Earth, okay? But I still am inside of this body, which is connected to my bloodline ancestry on Earth. You get what I'm saying? And anything that is not healed, any traumas, they are passed down. Okay, you think it's just the physical, brown eyes, black hair, all that kind of stuff? No, okay? It's even been proven scientifically, and we're really, now that science is getting a little bit more into the spiritual, starting to look at and seeing that trauma can be passed through DNA, okay? Certain emotional responses and that kind of thing, fears, and that's what generational curses are. It's not that some witch was behind cursing your family, okay? And that could have happened too, but it really is, curses are patterns that are not healed. Okay, so you keep repeating the same pattern and ending up in the same situations that your parents ended up in, and their parents, and their parents, and their parents, okay? And so that's our generation. We're here to now not skate over that and just keep things cute, but to dive deep within. So we had to be born in situations where the family household was not beautiful, having and dealing, like how many people in your family divorced, okay? Not just immediate, but I'm saying like family reunion, you know what I'm saying? How much violence was there? How much did you hear cursing? Just all kind of stuff, okay? We needed that to experience that trauma or that imbalance and that lack of support, so that, remember I talked about in the beginning how I said, it's about empowerment, okay, for our generation. If we were influenced in a positive way by the prior generations, okay? I'm not saying that it was all negative, okay? I'm not trying to say that, but it was a lot of trauma, okay? And this is the point, okay? If we were influenced, how are we going to be bringing in the new age? How are we going to completely tear down the old if we still feel connected to the old based on it feeling great to us growing up? You know what I'm saying? I think that's kind of what happened to a lot of our parents. It's like, yes, they went through just as traumatic situations, but they were kind of force-fed the past, okay? And they didn't really get the chance to recreate fully what they believe, you know what I'm saying? Because they had a lot of pressures from past generations, okay? And past regulation. But our generation, we're here to deal with that, okay? And that's why I always, and it's helped me to realize now, but growing up, I was like, I didn't really have anybody to look up to. I didn't really idealize any, superstar or anything. I feel like my life, there was no blueprint, okay, for my life at all. Okay, I didn't want to go into the 9-to-5 kind of route that was said to go to, okay? And so it's about creating things on your own, you know what I'm saying? With my sexuality, that was a strong thing that I dealt with alone, you know what I'm saying? I had to understand that and find my own truths, because growing up, that was not accepted. Even if it was, not said like, we hate gays, you can feel it, you can feel just that's not very acceptable in prior times. It's spoken about all around. And so for me, coming out was very tough. And it was, I went to college. Literally my first 2 years of college, I took many courses in LGBTQ curriculum to, number one, prove to myself being gay was okay, but also to have facts on that and research and just to understand it. You know what I'm saying? Because again, our generation didn't have that, support there to give us some kind of prior allegiance or some kind of prior understanding, okay? Which sucks, but also is the point of why I now feel strong in my sexuality and defined it on my own. I don't have any outside definition of it. You know what I'm saying? And that's with everything, okay? It's self-esteem as well. My generation has extremely wounded egos, okay? And the inner child, okay? Because of our upbringing, seeing so much violence and all these things, not feeling safe in our world because of the crisis going on, and it's sudden crisis. It's not like, the baby boomers had crisis, but it was like long wars and that kind of stuff. Our stuff is like shootings, Columbine, that kind of stuff. 9/11, these sudden crises where it's like you're always on edge, like nervous. Okay, well, what's going to happen? Can I ever feel comfortable? Because loss is always around the corner. You get what I'm saying? And so from that, we grew up feeling not secure. We didn't get the security we wanted from our upbringing emotionally. And then around us, we feel like every little bit of security we have may go at any time. You know what I'm saying? But the point of that is, again, Pluto is about empowerment. So we have to learn to empower ourselves outside of our reality. Okay, think about in celebrity world or just in life in general. Okay, if my grandparents were to lose everything, they'd probably go crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because their empowerment came from external gratification. Okay, I feel empowered because my hair looks nice. I feel empowered because I'm driving this car. I feel empowered because I have this career. I feel empowered because I've done this in my life. We grew up not having that, okay? Or if we did have that, anything that empowered us was taken away, okay? Or we were betrayed by. Pluto and Scorpio also rules. Pluto and Scorpio, I want to say that. I will keep saying that because we are the Pluto in Scorpio generation, but Pluto and Scorpio are the same kind of energy, so I want to just share both of that because it's double the effect for us because Pluto was in Scorpio, okay? It rules loss and betrayal. So we also grew up feeling abandoned, feeling betrayed, okay? There's so many experiences that happened for us, personally for me and our generation where the things that we thought were going to bring us security actually ended up betraying us. So we lost trust in things, which is why we never trusted school. We never trusted anything that was said to us because growing up, we were constantly being proven that we couldn't trust things. If that makes sense, okay? And so, again, is that tough? Hell yeah, okay? But do you see the point, though? Okay, through our through not trusting, we now gain more discernment to really take in first what something is before we absorb it, okay? And so that's another aspect of kind of what we went through. Let's see, I wrote down, we grew up clinging to things that eventually betrayed, okay? From past lives. We're coming from past lives of, yes, we are very powerful souls, okay? That's the main thing I talk about with Pluto Scorpio is we are the, warrior souls that are here, okay? To tear down the old structures, right? We're souls that came from lots of power, okay? And have lots of gifts and lots of talents. We're very, very talented as a generation, okay? But the problem that's happened in that, though, we've had lots as well, recent lifetimes of trauma, of loss, of pain, okay? Because in order to be able to, it's not like in order to be able to transmute this, we have to have it within ourselves. We can't just be these beautiful angels born into this rough world because we wouldn't have a relay to understand the chaos. You get what I'm saying? All the betrayal, all the fear, all the depression that I saw around me, I felt within as well, okay? And so that's how we transmute it. That's what as a healer, I had to learn how to heal myself to be able to effectively heal others. You know what I'm saying? And that's our entire generation. We have to learn how to empower ourselves so that we can help to empower everybody else, okay? Because that's the main part. That's human life, If you are disempowered, what are you? If you have no sovereignty, no autonomy. You can't make your own choices. Life is about choices. So then your life is not yours. You get what I'm saying? And so many people prior to us are living lives that are not theirs. They're dying and not happy, okay? Because they gave their power away based on past situations and trauma and things and skating over the darkness. You know what I'm saying? And so now we're here to bring in this new age of empowered, an empowered society, okay? But you have to be painfully disempowered to understand how to empower yourself, which is why we went through the things we went through, okay? We seek what will bring us empowerment and empower ourselves through the journey of reaching the goal of finding things through that self-empower. That's kind of confusing there, okay? We're not empowered from things, but from the relationship with self. And so again, like I talked about before, generations prior were looking for things. Okay, if I, go to school to be a doctor, that's going to give me the empowerment I need. Okay, and I can heal this, or not heal because I didn't heal it, but I can feel like I'm healing this inner childhood wound of feeling like I don't have any security or any stability. Okay, but with my generation, we went to college, which a lot of us did, which was, what was told of us or whatever. Graduated, and there's no jobs. You get what I'm saying? Graduated, and the things that, or the jobs that are around, are limiting. Okay, we have these powerful souls, and we're working in places that are disempowering. You get what I'm saying? Not only are we disempowered because different authorities are, over us and have been since we were raised, but also we are, even though have all this trauma and stuff from past lives, we are very powerful souls, because only powerful and warrior spirits are going to be strong enough to take down all of this all of this corruption. You get what I'm saying? You have to be fearless and have a fearless soul to be able to handle this, okay? So we have this deep, and I always felt that it's like, I'm very, calm on the outside, not, very aggressive, but I always had a feeling if I was tried, if I had to, I'm afraid of my own power. You get what I'm saying? And that's my generation as well. There's so much within us that's not going to be let down. Okay, if I get to a certain point of being restricted, watch out. You know what I'm saying? And that's our generation. Okay, and notice the restriction that's happening now. And so see the watch out. You see how the people are jumping over turnstiles and stuff. This is my generation. Okay, because that restriction can only go too far before we find a way to transmute that. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to keep this, concise. Let's see what else, guys. Coming from past lives of a lot of fear and trauma, in our lives there were so many ups that led to crisis. I talked about that. Impending doom. We always were thinking there's something going to go wrong. Okay, 9/11, 2000, 2012 scare, end of the world mentality. It also happened in our home environment. Okay, sudden divorce or sudden, when 2008 came. Okay, and Pluto moved into Capricorn and started, tearing away at big business. The financial recession happened. Okay. And that was right as I was at the end of high school. Okay, so as I'm thinking about going into the world on my own, I literally see everybody, losing money and losing jobs and stuff like that. So this is again showing, it's showing that kind of fear of security. Okay, it's showing loss, it's showing fear, it's showing depression, anxiety, all these things of Pluto and Scorpio. Pluto and Scorpio again. Okay, let's see. So much trauma. There's, sexual trauma. But notice the Me Too movement. Now, am I saying sexual trauma has been happening since humans have been around? Okay, but now people are speaking on it. What once was a hush kind of thing is now brought up to be healed. Okay, because again, molestation, all these things. It's not about the sex. That's a power play. That's a power. You want to get domination over something, okay? And mainly it's because you were dominated growing up, so you have this wound of feeling disempowered, so you have to overforce it on other people. You get what I'm saying? And so my generation as well was born into this and has a lot of that past trauma from past lives as well, so that we can recognize it, okay? And that's why we were born into it. But also, so now we are not going to be hush-hush about it. We're going to be put in these situations and wanting to speak on it, okay? Or even if we're not speaking on it, we're allowing it to transform us. We're not hiding from it, okay? Which, if you do hide from things, it leads to your detriment, okay? Because there's this quote that I literally just saw today, and it said, the only 3 things where darkness can't last or something like that is the sun, the moon, and the truth. Okay, it's where like it'll eventually be revealed into the light. Okay, I kind of completely screw up the quote, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, the sun will eventually always come back out. The moon, you're always eventually going to see it. If it goes away, it's going to come back. And the truth is the same thing. Okay, so think about as well. Look around at the crazy things going on with politicians, celebrities. Okay, these are people that are not mainly in our generation. And the main reasons they're losing power or are corrupt is because of deep wounds that they are not healing. Okay. Okay. I also want to mention, notice narcissism. That's a word that's being strongly used now, and it's very popular in society. And that comes a lot from unhealed and untouched childhood wounding. Right. It's an inflared ego, an inflared sense of entitlement, but all that comes from survival mentality. You get what I'm saying? It's because so much went on growing up, so much trauma and chaos and things, you learn to protect your ego, okay, to feel safe. But it's in a way that a child protects the ego. So it ends up staying as an adult, but it's very toxic patterning, okay? Because think of how a child deals with, things like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing about being a human as well. We're so adaptable that as a child, in order to survive, that's what ended up happening. I don't want to get too, go into the whole other tangent, but like people pleasing, things like that, or even accepting abuse, okay? If you were raised in an abusive environment by your parents, the main thing children want is love and support. So regardless of what was going on, you did what you needed to receive the love and support, whether that be deal with abuse, whether that be completely disempower yourself, lose your sense of self to gain that love, or a false sense of love because it was never there. But that is, where we're coming from, okay? And so notice that I think that narcissistic trend that's massive in society now started mainly, it's been happening again, long time. But this wave of it, I think, has a lot to do starting with the Pluto and Leo generation, the baby boomers, okay? Leo represents the ego, you get what I'm saying? And so they're here to transform their ego, but a lot of them didn't happen, okay? And so they ended up being wounded by their ego and now lashing out from an egoic place. And so look at Trump, okay? That's just one example, all right? Can't be wrong, there's no kind of, it's always someone else's, someone else's fault, okay? A very victim mentality, that's a very, also, but think about what I said, wounded child, okay? When a child is hurt, they did that, it's them. That's what children do, okay? And so from that pain of the past, that just carries on into adulthood, and you see these patternings, okay? So my generation as well, we're just as wounded, okay? Because we literally are inheriting the trauma of our parents, their parents, anything that was not healed, okay? Inheriting it, and instead of continuing that pattern of, not knowing yourself or, inner child wounding, we're being forced to deal with it, okay? And that's why as well you're seeing so many, because it comes through, in order to, empower yourself and go through this, you have to take a lot of internal work, okay, to heal. This is why as well, you're noticing people were not talking about therapy. That was something that was very, especially in the Black community, not looked down upon, but it was not something you did, okay? Growing up, I remember hearing as well, like, any man in my family, I'm not going to go to the doctor, I don't need to, that kind of stuff, okay? That's a very kind of, patterning of the past as well, okay? But now notice, our generations are like so accepting of therapy and trying to spread that around, okay? So people can understand, because therapy helps you to look within, okay? That's my whole reason of me being here, you get what I'm saying? I went through a tough, kind of awakening process, lots of traumas, that kind of stuff as well, so that I can work on healing those, and that's what I've been doing for so long, and continuing to do, so that I can be a channel of healing for other people. You get what I'm saying? And so that's that. I want to continue on. It's making us find security in ourselves while craziness goes on around us. Okay? And that makes us impenetrable. You get what I'm saying? It's like past generations were empowered only if things were looking cute. You know what I'm saying? We were raised in an environment where it was not cute around us, or maybe it was cute in appearance, but something was not cute about our childhood, okay? And through that, we still are learning how to be empowered, still learning how to be happy without things around, okay? Because the opposite point of Scorpio is Taurus. Taurus rules your possessions, everything nice in your life, the things that you gain and security you have in your life. So for us to have Pluto and Scorpio opposite of that, it means we constantly are dealing with loss of our possessions, loss of our sense of security, so that we can look within, okay? Let's see. Again, I wrote, very empowered and strong, but can't find job or connection, so our power doesn't match. It's a very disempowering process, okay? Again, we saw violence, death, sex on TV and in real life. And so that is something as well that we're now learning to not run from, but just deal with and go into. I wrote down, how many stories of abuse, trauma, and violence did you hear about growing up? Every friend I had, we were always talking about, what went down, or, oh my God, I said this and I got beat last night, all this stuff, okay? And now looking back, it's like, whoa, we had some intense past, you know what I'm saying? We grew up knowing the secret stuff. It was not hidden. Nothing was hidden from us, And so that also means we have this inner need to find out things, okay, and look deep within. We are called to deal with and heal all past traumas which weren't healed in previous lineage. Okay, issues around sexuality, power, fears, secrets, depression, abandonment, and death. And that's a lot of things I've already spoken on, but I'm just rereading. Instead of running from these issues, we are the generation getting counseling, healing, and seeking answers. Okay, but again, it's tough to do that. That's the reason why the previous generations ran from it, because it is so hard to look within, and it is so hard to deal with, your traumas and pain. And as well, what makes it even more tough on our generation is every other generation thinks we're crazy. You get what I'm saying? So we don't have that. I never felt validated in my pain. Anything I was going with, soon I'm gonna have a video for you guys about all of everything. I think it's gonna be very healing for me to express it, but also for everybody else to see. Oh, I went through that as well. It's nice to share what we went through. Okay, in our healing process, right? And I'm almost at the end of it, y'all. And so, going through all of those things and not having any validation, not having anyone saying, wow, that is really hard to grow up, not having a father, or grow up, feeling disempowered, or not being understood in that way, or, we didn't have any of that. So we had to learn to validate ourselves, okay? So again, there's no external validation that can come from us. We're not feeling empowered by the external, and we're not validated by the external. It's all happening inside, okay? And that's actually the true way of where it should be. So even though we're going through hell growing up, dealing with this, we're going to end up being the most empowered generation thus far. You get what I'm saying? And the most stable, because we're internally stable, right? And we're going to have the strongest truths because we've had to shed away the lies that we were told and find our own truths. Okay, and that's all of why we're here, to rewrite things. And it had to happen that way. We had to end up in those situations so that we could do it alone. Okay, had to feel left out, had to feel abandoned, had to, feel wounded, had to feel not supported. We had to, see all the trauma that we did experience, all right, and now we're working on that. And also we were put in a lot of our fears, okay. We're in a very fearful situation, so we can learn to be fearless. The only way to get to that place of courage is through facing fear, okay? Excuse me. Again, we're extremely intuitive and can read through the bull, so that is, I spoke about in the beginning, so that we can really see underneath the surface of things, okay? Experience lots of loss and abandonment in the parental sphere, so we cling to scorpionic things to cope. This is another thing I want to speak on. There's been a major healing that's happening this past 3-4 years-ish within my generation, because what ends up happening is you attract what you are, okay? If you were raised in an abusive environment and you did not heal that, you're going to continue to attract that, okay? That's what happened to me. I moved to New York, and every person around me just mirrored what happened to me growing up. I didn't realize it until, a little bit down the line, okay? But that goes on. That's what happens, okay? Every, partner I attracted had that kind of missing emotional connection, that missing, they were emotionally unavailable, because that's how my father, I didn't feel like we had an emotional connection, you get what I'm saying? And absent, okay? Even if he was around, he wasn't interested really in what I was doing. So I didn't see, I felt an absence, okay? And so then I attracted friends who I felt absent from, who didn't emotionally gratify me. I attracted co-workers, I attracted bosses, I even went to, my dance school that I went to, Marymount Manhattan College, which was great, for my developing dance and all that kind of stuff. But even that environment was very similar to how I was raised. I remember even being at Marymount and trying to impress the teachers, trying to work my best to get that kind of like clap that I desperately wanted. Never got it, okay? So I had to learn to clap for myself, you get what I'm saying? And that's our generation, okay? Because if someone did clap for me and I did get that validation, then I would kind of stop searching inside, you know what I'm saying? So, boom. And again, sorry, I kind of stopped in the middle of that. But when I was in that situation, I like kind of escaped from where the South, and was like, I'm going to leave and do my own thing. And then I my karma came with me because I didn't heal anything. You get what I'm saying? And what happens is Scorpio, it rules sex and control and all these things. And so until you learn to, harness that energy within, those energies overpower you. You go to those things, the negative aspects of it, to heal. So when I was in New York, and a lot of our generation as well, we're understanding this, okay? Using sex, using drugs, using even empowerment in social settings, okay? Trying to take control over certain situations. I was a strong control freak growing up, okay? Everything had to be neat and in order, and even, if someone said something that was off, or, trying to control things, okay? And that's because of not feeling like I was in control of my life. You get what I'm saying? You try to micromanage everything around you, okay? And so that's a negative aspect of Pluto, okay? Trying to dominate, overuse, pornography. Think about how that's like one of the main, I think Pornhub is like the #3 website or something like that right now. And that is porn addiction. I'm not saying that everybody's addicted to porn. That's not it, okay? Because I think that there could be benefits from that. A lot of people say porn is like the devil, but I'm not. That's past generations, okay? But regardless, it's going into, to escaping into porn or escaping into sex. It's like, think about as well, I'm generation as well of like Tinder and online dating and the hookup apps, okay? All these things, all right? So if you're not healing your abandonment, healing your loss, healing your inner, Plutonian things, you then go and attract that, and you cling to the negative aspects of the Scorpio things that prior generations are still clung to. There's so many prior generations that are still dealing with sexuality things, addiction things, but they're not at the place that our generation is of, okay, I'm dealing with this, now I have to really look inward to see how can I get over that. They're still dealing with it, okay? Let's see, missing father figure or parental support is teaching us about making our own boundaries and how to defend ourselves. That's also one thing, okay? I didn't feel like I had anybody to stand up for me much growing up, okay? When I was dealing with my sexuality, there was no one like, you know what, no, Corey, you stand up for yourself, you are who you are. That was not there. Dance, bullying and that kind of stuff. Small occasions, there was some support in that, but I was bullied and it just was. I had to figure out how to fend for myself, okay? And so that kind of thing, it teaches you to be your own parent. It teaches you to learn how to create your own boundaries. I grew up in a place where there isn't any boundaries. It's a very blended, people are betraying boundaries or stepping on your boundaries, not caring about boundaries, that kind of stuff. And now I'm learning about my own and the importance of that, okay? The importance of having your own boundaries, the importance of standing up for yourself, being able to defend yourself, okay? And this is healing our incapability of looking after ourselves emotionally because we didn't receive that. And so now we're having to learn that on our own, okay? Let's see. Okay, yeah, that was the last thing from our upbringing. So now you can kind of see what we, in our generation from like 83 to 95 about dealt with, okay? And it's very common. A lot of us, we all went through this, okay? In some way felt abandoned, felt left out, felt not supported, did not receive the emotional nurturing we needed, felt fearful of, our surroundings, okay? All these things, right? And so now we're working through that and dealing with that, okay? And so once we deal with that and master our own internal realm, okay, that causes the transmutation. I literally have felt like this year, I'm a completely different person, especially from the past 5 months, okay? Completely different, like 100%, okay? And you wouldn't see it from the outside. It's all internal. All of the working and changing within myself has been internal changes, okay? And that's the purpose, all right? Because then once you change everything on the inside, then you can look, and that's what happened in my life. I changed so much internally, and then I was looking at my life like, wait, I'm being disempowered in my career, I'm being disempowered in my relationships, I don't feel supported here. So I had to make lots of cuts, you know what I'm saying, to now bring in what I want in my life, okay? To have this new beginning and this new empowered self, you know what I'm saying? And through me doing that, this is the path of my entire generation. We deal with and work through, gain awareness of all of our past, find healing and forgiveness for it. Because also, once I started realizing what was going on, there was lots of rage, resentment, so many things that came up from my upbringing. But now I had to look at, okay, well, healing and finding forgiveness and seeing the purpose of all of this and where I'm at now, all this, okay? And now that I've had this, kind of transformation where I feel like my old self has died, I'm now stepping into this new energy that I'm feeling within myself, okay? And creating it is completely new, completely creating it on my own, right? And so that is what our path is. Here to be the end and the new beginning. That's what I wrote, okay? For our generation. We're here to literally restructure the new society, okay? And check out my Age of Aquarius video for that to talk more about what that means into what's going to happen in the new society, okay? That's on the main video on my YouTube channel, okay? But one last thing I want to talk about that, though, is everyone as well, especially 1990 to 1994, and my 1993 babies like me, very important, okay? We were born during the conjunction of Uranus and Neptune in Capricorn. So not only was Pluto and Scorpio, Uranus and Neptune, which are the last two outside planets. You got Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune. Okay, Pluto's in Scorpio, his ruling planet, his ruling place for us. But also my 90s to my 94s, especially 93s, that's when it was exact. Okay, we are here. We have in us as well the blend of Uranus and Neptune. Uranus is the ruler of innovation, breaking free, okay, and ascension. Neptune is the ruler of delusion, but also the ruler of the spiritual, all right? And Capricorn, with them both being in Capricorn, Capricorn rules structures and government, that kind of thing. So our generation is not only dealing with clearing away all that past trauma to bring in this transformation of the new, we also have this energy, especially, again, the 90s through the 94s, of this fused energy to bring down the enlightened spiritual that we've been working to find into our reality, okay, to manifest this new world, all right? We have this blueprint of what we feel needs to change, and our path is not only to clear away the past and the past within ourselves, but also to tap into our intuition and pull out what we believe is going to be the truth for us in the future, okay? And that's happening right now very strongly for what I'm about to explain now, okay? So really quick, go back to 2013, 2014. That is when I had my spiritual awakening, okay? I looked back to what occurred. Saturn was moving through Scorpio, okay? And Saturn rules structure, all right? So from 2013 to 2014, Saturn passed over all of the Pluto-Scorpio generations, Pluto, causing a need to structure that energy, find structure, find stability within, okay? So since 2013, I have been doing that, really trying to get this empowerment within, find new structures within myself, okay? And that has a lot to do with Saturn kicking things off. It was tough, but Saturn does not play, okay, moving through Scorpio. It also, 2013, 2014, introduced me to the occult, introduced me to astrology, tarot, all these things that have helped me in my healing process tremendously, okay? Because Scorpio rules the occult, all right? And what I've noticed is my generation especially is the main generation that is accepting of the occult. I can talk about astrology with people in my generation. I can talk about tarot and not look like I have three eyes, okay? Well, got a third eye, but you get what I'm saying, okay? Because we have that energy, we're not afraid of, or Scorpio again is, the occult means things that are unseen, things that are not really talked about in the mainstream, okay? But since Scorpio energy is all about the full ocean again, so my generation is, we'll talk about it all, okay? We'll talk about sex, pooping, whatever, okay? Because we're that energy. It's not, there's nothing that is too dark for us, okay? We have to get our hands dirty in this life to really heal those things. We have to literally not be afraid of the dark, you know what I'm saying? To find the light within that dark, okay? So yes. So Saturn moving through that, okay, through Scorpio really brought that awakening. But also what's happening in our generation now, which is why, you're seeing so much of the Pluto-Scorpio generation taking power, but also intense healing is going on within our generation now. It's getting real, okay? Because Pluto, which is homeboy, Pluto-Scorpio, is passing through Capricorn, and literally last year, and currently right now, honestly, is on top of my Uranus-Neptune conjunction in Capricorn. Okay, so that's that energy I talked about again. Uranus, Neptune, and Capricorn, which is our need to bring the spiritual down to earth. So Pluto is about rebirth, about transformation. Okay, so our entire generation, Pluto has been from 90s, especially the 1990s to 1994. Pluto has moved over our Uranus-Neptune conjunction. Okay, and has helped to spark and transform us within, so that we can now begin to bring these things down. Okay, ever since last year, I became extremely focused on the water bearer, extremely, okay, and has begun to craft what I believe my path is in the future. And that has a lot to do with Pluto waking that energy up within me. Okay, now what also is happening currently, and it will pass over, I believe it's going to hit around my birthday, okay, a little bit before that. Saturn, the ruler of structure, okay, is in Capricorn right now, and is about to pass over that exact point, and Saturn rules structure. So it's like Pluto awakened us, and now Saturn's about to be like, here's a structured way to bring about this newness, okay? And Saturn has been doing that so much, for our generation. I've been able to really restructure a lot with the water bearer of how I'm going to bring myself and my path to the people, and all the dreams I have about what I'm going to do, and what I want to implement, and the certain things I want to, writing books, or whatever I want to do. Okay, there's a lot of things I want to share, but you have to see, and as time evolves. Okay, but this new construction of this new spiritual, this new enlightened life, we are now getting structure into that because Saturn is passing over those points. Okay, so very, very important there. I wrote, and this is the last few notes. Thank you for hanging on, guys. It's a long video, but it's so important, so pivotal, and I wanted to share this with you guys so you can understand our generation and our point here. Okay, we are going to become the first very empowered and self-driven sign in decades. Okay, where our skills and ourselves are running the show. Okay, there's no external, anything going on. Okay, and even notice in society, notice how many YouTubers, the internet is the main thing as well that was born with us. Okay, we grew up with it, and that's the point. We're now using the internet to break ourselves free and break other people free and connect each other. Okay, I've noticed as well, in the millennial generation, how many people are influencers, how many people are making lots of money through the internet. Okay, and that's causing a rift in society because previous generations are like, how the hell are they making? People are making millions, okay, off of YouTube and off of not just YouTube, but the internet, okay, with their own skills. It's not other skills. They're not working for anybody, right? And this is the water bearer. This is what I'm doing, okay? And that's what we're feeling. It's like I want to be my own power, my own currency. If that makes sense, okay? And that's the point, I think, of life. You know what I'm saying? To do whatever your innate gifts that you were divinely placed with. Bring that to the world and share that with the world. Okay, so many people now they don't have time to share that with the world because they're working 9 to 5s. You know what I'm saying? And when they're home, they're tired, and then eating fast food that makes them less energetic. You know what I'm saying? So society is literally made to make you disempowered. Okay, and so that's why our generation is here to break through all of that, and so then we can be our own sense of empowerment. Okay, we don't need that, to work our whole lives to get a retirement to feel stable. We're going to figure it out on our own with our own gifts. Okay, and we're also tapping into the spiritual. We're the generation where it's like, I know it looks like this, but I feel something else. My life has been that to the T. That's where I am now, even. Okay, there's so much outside force. Like, well, why don't you do that? You could do that. You could do that. And it's like, no, I have this feeling inside of I need to do this. Okay, and regardless of the path set out for me. Right? Like when I graduated high school, I went to the University of South Carolina, which I was not part of my plan, and ended up being a exercise science major because I didn't feel that dance could be a major. Okay, and it was not allowed for me to major in dance at that time. Right? It's like, go do something practical, go do something that's going to make you money. And my entire generation heard that. Don't be an artist. Go be a lawyer. Go be a doctor. Okay, because that's the practical. That's gonna that seems to make sense to give you money because that's what happened in previous generations. That's what they did. They said, okay, I need to find this security. Let me get a secure job. Then I'll be secure. Sure. Okay. So now that's changing because also notice Pluto's going through Capricorn and killing a lot of big business away. So it's like the structures that we were raised to go to feel secure are no longer there. Okay, so you have to figure it out on your own. You know what I'm saying? So yes, which is why entrepreneurship, self-employment has been back on the rise with my generation. Okay, let's see. No longer want to be controlled or subordinate to a government or anything. You know, previous generations, it's like, well, just find a good government job. They'll take care of you. You know, it's like a pride they have in saying they work for the government. I work for the government. I get these benefits. My generation is like, you okay with that? Like, are they okay? Like, I don't know. You know, you never. There's not a strong trust in the government. Okay, and we don't even want to rely on them because we didn't trust them growing up. They betrayed us, and we see that more power can come without that. You know what I'm saying? You know, for me, especially like with dance, when I graduated from Marymount, I auditioned for, you know, companies, and I did not want to get. There was 2 companies that I got into that I declined. Okay, and it was big and tough for me because I needed the money, that kind of stuff. But I was going literally 2 auditions. I went and was thrown up on the way, which is my body telling me, "Don't go. Why are you doing this?" But I never felt super connected to dance companies. I love dance to death, but you know, when I was in college and I had to work with all these choreographers, I didn't vibe with them. I thought they were very self-centered, or that the art they were using dance for self-gratification, if that makes sense. And this is why I don't really get along with much of the dance community in general. Like I know all of them. I grew up around the dance community, and that kind of thing. Love it, but I don't see myself like I don't want to be like on Hubbard Street. All these, you know, Alvin Ailey, all these things that a lot of people in prior generations would die for. I'm trying to create my own thing, okay? Because I realized, well, dance is such an amazing, you know, tool, and an amazing gift, and an amazing way to awaken, and a way to it's a way to speak to someone without even words. Okay, it's also a way to speak to any person without, you don't even have to speak English. You get what I'm saying? And so I always, you know, even growing up, like from when I was little, I was like, anything I choreographed had to have some meaning. Okay, the majority, I did a piece in college, and it was about, you know, feeling stuck in society and how to break free from that. That literally, I went back a few months ago. I made a post about this on my like normal dance page, and talked about how like every piece I've made has been about feeling restricted and breaking free. Everyone almost. Okay, all my solos growing up were like, you know, when I did was Hanging On. It was Hanging On by Active Child, talking about I can't keep hanging on to you and me. And it was at the end I like dropped this rose, and it was about like I can't keep hanging on to these things that are tearing me down. I did a piece about you know, Grow Till Tall, which is about growing tall outside of, you know, the restrictions, because that was my life. But it also is, that's my generation's life. It's like breaking out of the limitations from society and doing your own thing. Okay, let's see. That's it, and that is the video. Okay, I wrote down, we become our own parents, our own security, and our own power. That's the last thing I have. Okay, so that's the Pluto and Scorpio video, all about the millennials. Okay, why we're so different, why we're here, why we're going through so much intensity. Okay, and have been our entire lives. And the point of that, it's not going to be forever. This darkness that we're feeling, that's the main part of our path. We have to learn to overcome this, accept our darkness, and use that to actually empower us to then take action from an empowered place. Okay, and yes, okay. So if you're in, you know, a tough place, if you're a Pluto Scorp, just know that, you know, that's not the destiny for our life. It's yes to go through that, but that's so that we can have Scorpio and Pluto both are about transformation. Okay, it's not just forever terrible and crisis. No, it's like you go through that to learn, and then through that wisdom, you now can be your own power. Okay, your own, you know, being. This is why as well, like think about Christianity, there's just a decline. Okay, because I remember growing up, every sermon there was some part of it that was, you know, I didn't feel accepted. It's like, oh, they just talked about homosexuality. Well, I'm going to hell. You know, or they just talked about, you know, you must listen to everything that your parents say. It looks like I'm going to go to hell. You know, that kind of thing. All this guilt and all this shame, all this blame that that higher religions have had from the past. Okay, and if you know me, I'm not about to sit here and start bashing other religions, that kind of stuff, or religion in general. because I do think that there are really great gems in every religion, okay? But looking at it from how it started, the origin of Christianity, I think, is beautiful. The origin of, you know, Judaism is beautiful. But now so much corruption has occurred through it, because society, it's like they're using the church, they're using the government to control, okay? You have people going to the church to learn how to live live their life, and they end up getting control, okay? And so, you know, I'm now spiritual. I don't practice a particular religion. I do still, you know, I still have, literally, there's a Bible verse right here on my computer screen that I look at, okay? And I'm, you know, it's able me to be free. I can now study all kind of different religions, all right? But I don't need another thing outside of myself to tell me what's right and what's wrong, so I don't practice religion. You get what I'm saying? Like, I use it, okay? But it's not something that I need to practice because I'm my own guide. That makes sense. And that's the point, again, of our society. Okay, I'm not society, yes, but of our generation, okay? To be our own, you know, guide, our own support, our own power, okay? So that we can do what we need and be free, all right? We don't have to rely on anything or anyone. And that reliance then leads to corruption, because when people know, oh, they're relying on me, then you can do all kind of craziness because they're going to keep relying on you. You know what I'm saying? But if no one's relying on you, then there's nothing you can do. They're doing their own thing. So you have to do your own thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I have, guys. I am so excited that I got this out. I've been wanting to do this video for like 3 weeks. So here it is, all right? My millennials, I love you guys so much. And now you know what's going on. Now you know why I'm here even more, okay? To offer as a place to gain insight, a place to help yourself heal as well. Because all the things I post is how I'm healing myself, you know what I'm saying? And so if it's healing me, of course it's going to heal you. You know what I'm saying? So that's it, my loves. And that's also why, you know, I just want to get this video out, because if you're noticing it's increasing. The amount of riots, the amount of revolts, the amount of pressure being pushed back at these government structures is increasing. And the majority of the people, every time I look at a video, it's people my age. And I'm like, look at the Pluto Scorpio handling, okay? And so that's what it is. You know, we are the fearless souls, the warrior souls, these ancient souls, old souls, okay? We've lived lots and lots of lives, right? A lot of people my age always spoke about how we felt like we were the oldest in our family, even though we were the child. You know what I'm saying? Felt like we had to raise ourselves, or we were offering advice to our parents and our grandparents, that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or just had a very wise, you know, growing up, people said you were old soul, you had a very wise mind, okay? That's because we've done this before, right? But we're now here to heal a lot of that, okay? I personally think that, you know, I feel like I was a strong spiritual power, maybe a healer, that makes, you know, saying a healer, you know, like an oracle for people. But then when the corruption started coming, the book burnings, the, you know, witch burnings, all that chaos that occurred, okay, and brought us back into the dark, I think I was a main part of that, okay? Being burned at the stake, or, you know, having to deal with, you know, loss of power and trauma in that way. So coming from a very powerful place, and then over lifetime slowly losing all that power and ending up in fear and darkness, okay? And then being born in this life, feeling that inner power within, but feeling also completely powerless, and now having to mend the two and reach towards the power that I feel within, okay? So yes, all right? So that's what I have, guys. I'm super excited that I got this out again. Thank you for tuning in so much. Make sure to share. Yes, comment, yes, like, but the main thing is please share and get this video out. I looked at the Pluto and Scorpio hashtag on Instagram, and I was the only person making videos about this, okay? But notice how important it is, you know what I'm saying? So many people are going through deep depression, working on their fears, and they're wondering, like, why am I going through this? We were literally picked this. We planned to come here at this time to deal with this so that we can be here for this transition into the new age, okay? And so that's the reason I made this. You know, yes, I'm excited about it, but I've been reading it for years. But I want to make sure that other people get the opportunity to understand why they're here, and it just helps as well to kind of, okay, we're all going through the same thing, right? Let's link together and you know, work on this, okay? So again, I said it like 7 times. That's what I have for you guys. Thank you again for tuning in. If you want, you know, personal session with me, or you want healing with me, you know, that's the main thing I do, all right? My link is below. All right, thank you again for tuning in, guys. Deuces.